We set out on a journey to see if 3 average players could be taught everything they need to achieve Gladiator for the first time. And now, after a week of queuing, our team peaked at 2,300, only 100 points from the final push. Over the next few weeks, our team will be learning the 5 pillars of WoW PvP. Last time, they focused on offense, learning how to coordinate CC just like the pros. Our coaches pointed out key mistakes in their kill setups and showed our players the power of 3-2-1 cross CC. But as they started to face better opponents, one thing became clear: that defensive skills were clearly lacking. Following their climb to 2.3, they tanked down to 2,100, and at the start of week 2, our coaches sat down to plan the course for their team. Offense saw some immediate improvements, but there was one question on our minds: could our team fix their key defensive mistakes before week 3? Join us as we take you through one of the most unique learning experiences in WoW PvP history. You will join our 3 players and learn the same lessons being taught by our team of expert coaches. Welcome back to the skill-capped Road to Gladiator Challenge. Before meeting with our coaches, we wanted to learn more about our players. So we sat down with our rogue, Erow, to learn more about his journey in Arena from grinding LFG to taking on the Road to Glad Challenge.
Hey, I'm Erow. I've been playing WoW now for about 10 years, on and off, with Rogue being my main for the last 5 years. I started playing Arena back in Warlords when they introduced those new vicious amounts, and I decided just to grind 100 wins for one of the saddles. With this Road to Gladiator opportunity, I really want to get the most out of it and reach new heights as a player, to the point where I can reach Gladiator consistently. Most important thing I've learned. I think I realized very quickly how self-oriented I was in Arena, and I think that's the case for a lot of LFG players. I tried to play the game on my own, whereas I would try and sheep shot all 3 targets and set up goes on my own. If I got into trouble, I would just not hesitate to dump my defensives. And these sessions we've had, they really taught me the importance of teamwork and just increasing my general awareness. What makes the icing on the cake is that both Mark and Fishy, they're really good guys with perfect mentalities for this. They take the challenge just as serious as I do, and the team, the coaches, they're willing to improve. They're willing to take the criticism and make something out of it, and that just solidifies my confidence in this.
With our team ready for week 2, it was time to review their goals. Our coaches needed to find a way to fix 3 of the biggest mistakes our team was making. The first was only reacting to HP. This is such a widespread problem because it is so counterintuitive. Instead of reacting to game states, many players simply pay attention to their own health bar to know if they're in trouble. In Shadowlands, this doesn't quite work, since any number of classes can take your HP from 100 to 0 in a fraction of a second. Instead, our team needed to learn that there are other things more important than health points that signal trouble is coming. The first is enemy cooldowns, which can easily be tracked with add-ons like Omnibar and Weak Auras. If CDs are up, chances are a defensive response is needed. The second is cross CC. If anyone gets stunned while our healer is taken out of the game, then it should signal to our team that trouble is brewing, in which case you might need to use a cooldown even if your HP is high. The third mistake we needed to fix is making sure our players weren't overlapping important defensives. From week 1, they learned just how easy it was to win once the enemy team burned most of their CDs, so they had to make sure that they weren't trading too little or too many defensive CDs to respond to enemy attacks. And with this, we had our goals for week 2. We would teach our team effective cooldown trading, which meant making sure they were looking at more than their HP alone. Once they realized they were in trouble, they needed to make sure they weren't dying without pressing cooldowns, while also being sure not to overlap. And with our goals set for the second week, it was time to meet with the coaches. We went into our meeting with one goal: to make sure everyone knew to avoid these common defensive problems. Our rogue was guilty of making all of these mistakes. One thing that immediately stood out is that Erow was doing some really risky trinkets, trying to force kills when they were already over.
This just doesn't make sense to trinket
I
here.
think also in general, you shouldn't really be trinketing offensively in the open like this anyway, no matter what, even if you should only
trinket offensive ever if it's a kill go.
The kill go, yeah, exactly. And here it's impossible for this to be the kill go. Disperse is ready, the druid has trinket. There's no universe in which this trinket equals win the game. Either way, during this offensive setup, you get stunned by the ret, but your healer isn't CC'd. He was able to dispel this.
Exactly.
And remember, even if you trinket this Hodge, there is no way that you can win the game right now. It's impossible. This trinket is not a game-winning trinket, but you trinket anyways. So you have to remember that you're not trinketing offensively ever, especially against this comp. If this comp sees a rogue trinket offensively, my god, they're so happy. You've given them a win condition that they didn't previously have.
Our mage, Mark, was also having trinketing problems, but more importantly, he wasn't recognizing the strength of altar time.
In opener, you generally speaking want to trinket and you want to alter as soon as possible, especially if your priest ends up getting CC'd. If he's not CC'd, you can hold it a bit. But in this scenario, he obviously gets stunned. So what you want to do as a mage here, you want to trinket, alter, insta, jump below the bridge, try and maybe rebuff or like shield, try to use any buff you can to like help yourself buff, like maybe even blink 2 yards just to proc your Tempest Barrier conduit, just to have another buff.
One point I want to make is you can see here you're stunned for 0.8 seconds, yeah? Look at your HP when the stun ends. You're 76%. Altering at this HP, is this fine, Mara?
This would still be
this
okay,
is still
yes.
fine, right?
But you could get restunned. Usually they would restun you, and then you would have to trinket like a Dia stun, and it would be awkward.
So
like,
you're better off just instantly
trinket
trinketing and pressing your altar.
Just trinket first stun, alter.
Other caster DPS can make similar efficient trades by using low cooldown defensives to counter powerful offensive CDs. Shadow Priest can do this with Greater Fade, but even smaller cooldowns like Frenzied Regeneration for Balanced Druids or Teleport for Warlocks can be used to survive through enemy offensives without investing other CDs. But remember, it is often better to trade these early if your healer is in CC, even if you are high on HP. Just like the rest of our team, our priest Rocky was also wasting some of his cooldowns, giving a CD advantage to the enemy team for free.
Here's the Chaos Nova, and then you try to mind games and you get banished, and then you trinket this. Now, this is just like what we were talking with the rogue. You don't need to press, you shouldn't trinket offensively, especially not as the healer. There's no way that you can win the game here. The druid still has trinket.
Both trinket offensively.
Yeah, your rogue does it too.
Trinket.
Yeah, so like this is not good. You by doing this, all you're doing is like getting a really good opener, forcing their trinkets, getting ahead, and then just giving them your queen.
To make matters worse, our priest was getting destroyed over and over by melee, having to exhaust multiple resources to survive cooldowns despite there being one easy solution.
You drop pretty low, you trade Greater Fade. I think you even Guardian yourself here. Actually, no, you didn't Guardian. But the main point was that you basically...
I would probably fly before they even connect.
Yeah, that's the main point. Like, as they're trying to get to you while you're still full HP and your rogue vanishes, you just press fly right now before they get to you. It's so obvious. Like, you're the only one that they can hit. They're coming for you. It's the easiest fly of your life, and now you take no damage. You waste the Ret's wings. You let stun DRs and everything come back off. You just delay the game. Remember that you don't need to be contributing to anything other than getting to the next setup as the Holy Priest.
In Arena, you are always looking for value trades. If the enemy team pops multiple offensives, your goal is to trade as close to 1-to-1 as possible, sometimes squeezing value out of low CD defensives. Our team seemed to be committing all of the common defensive problems with just their trinket alone. If they wanted to push Gladiator, they would need to practice effective cooldown usage.
This is totally madness.
This is okay.
This is better.
Oh, and by the way, if you're liking these coaching sessions so far, be sure to check out skillcap.com/wow, where we are uploading our full-length recordings for each of our players. You will also get access to over 600 guides, which are actively being used by our RMP in this challenge. Cooldown trading was just one part of our team's problems. Perhaps a more complicated issue was peeling and kiting, which requires a lot of nuance as RMP. You see, some of the spells you can peel with are also needed to set up kills. This creates a paradox. If you stun someone as a peel, how do you keep them locked down for damage and vice versa? This was most apparent in RMP mirrors, where Erow was often stunning the enemy rogue immediately as a peel out of stealth. This meant he was putting the kill target on stun DR before his team was even ready to cross CC. All of this could easily be avoided by just using disarm immediately on the rogue, which would be a really efficient peel without needing to burn a stun DR on the kill target.
Also, what you're doing by stunning the rogue is you're kind of giving him a chance to just trinket and maybe keep the go going. But if you disarm him, you make it really awkward for him because he doesn't really want to trinket a disarm because then he's not on stun DR, so you can still kill him.
Any class with a disarm should prioritize using it as a peel, especially during enemy CDs, since it doesn't interfere with the DRs of your normal setups. This is something our rogue needed to learn, as his team was starting to fight more melee cleaves on the ladder. While this was happening, it was clear that our team was becoming too fixated on getting the perfect offensive setup, to the point that they weren't seeing opportunities to cross CC as both a peel and an off-script setup.
We've obviously trained you guys to like do the 3-2-1, but that's not something that you need to stick to every single time. There is context to consider. In this particular scenario, as you go in, maybe a mage would have DB'd here, you don't, they press banner. They've literally gifted you a triple DB right now. You can just set up the goal yourself. If you land a triple DB, you don't need to communicate that ahead of time with your team to make sure that they're ready. You guys haven't done a go for ages. No, these guys are not on stun DR. Kidney shot is ready. All that data is available to you as a mage. You can see all of that. You could be off voice right now and go for the triple DB into triple ring, confidently knowing that your rogue is most likely going to be able to follow up.
We should mention that every caster will find themselves in a situation where they need to actively peel, and sometimes spam CC is needed on the kill target in between setups. This is especially true as balanced druid with Cyclone. Even if you don't have a go ready, you can still commit your clones on the kill target to buy you time for your next setup. But moving on, our priest wasn't immune to error either. Even though his role isn't exactly to peel for his team, he needed to get better at recognizing when to push in for setups, and when he needed to use tools like Greater Fade and Holy Ward to avoid enemy goes.
It's okay, as a healer, your most important thing is your trinket. Have trinket available because you can save people with your trinket.
Yeah, and when your
as
trinket
holy
is down...
priest,
Right, go ahead.
Well, as a holy priest, your advantage is you have two things that can cover, that prevent you from needing to use your trinket of Greater Fade and Holy Ward. And you have pillars. So, those three things prevent you from using your most important cooldown if you use them well. And you can, you want to avoid using, you hate to use your trinket as a healer. It sucks, right? You feel like, oh shit, the game's lost. But you can avoid those situations by just preemptively holy warding, greater fading, and then playing careful with your positioning.
You should also be aware when the game is over. At this point, when your guardian is down, your trinket is down, your rogue's trinket is down. You should know that you have a lose condition. You can die now.
Rocky needed to learn some general game awareness, as he was getting CC'd for free by not paying close attention to enemy positioning and win conditions.
The paladin hasn't used his stun yet, and is standing right next to you on this pillar. So, you've got your Greater Fade, which you can use to immune crowd control when the paladin runs in. But watch what he does. He just runs in, presses the stun. And you don't even consider, you don't look at him, you're not aware of it. This is a really easy Greater Fade. And imagine if you faded this stun. Now your mage is not in trouble whatsoever. But you just let him get it for free.
With our team freshly coached, it was time to see if they could put in some work and bounce back from their losses at the end of week 1. Our rogue was now using disarm on important cooldowns like Warbreaker, allowing him to peel for his team without needing to put someone on stun DR. If we look back at Erow before the coaching session, he was barely using dismantle at all. And even worse, he was using his stun DR as a peel, even when disarm was a much better option. We even had Erow and Rocky play 2v2 together to show them how to peel for each other without needing a mage. Erow started disarming instantly against Rogue Mage in the opener, which allowed him to keep stun DRs to force CDs and set up kills later on. This eventually would directly improve their win rate in the RMP mirror, which is something they struggled with in week 1. Dismantle was being used on the rogue instantly, while stuns were being used on the enemy priest to try and bait CDs. Again, this allowed Erow to peel for his team, while also setting up a massive swap on the rogue. And with this small adaptation, our team was able to get more reliable wins against their own comp, which of course is everywhere on the ladder. Against melee cleaves, Erow started using disarm as a one-to-one trade with enemy offensive cooldowns, which was made easier by paying attention to add-ons like weak auras, allowing him to instantly deny enemy CDs the moment they were used. And all the meanwhile, our team was still able to work on their offensive setups, making sure to cross CC even while under pressure. Our mage, Mark, was also beginning to fix key mistakes, specifically with alter time. Now he was starting to press it instantly on high HP the moment he was under pressure. This would allow him to trade a low CD ability in response to enemy offensives, getting enormous value out of a single defensive cooldown. This was a major contrast to his earlier queue sessions, where altar time was sometimes being used at low HP. Or even worse, sometimes it was never being used at all, meaning his healer had to do more work and burn his own defensive cooldowns just to keep his mage alive. Remember that many classes can make value trades by using smaller CDs to block bigger enemy offensives. Greater Fade, Frenzied Regeneration, and Teleport allow you to conserve other major important cooldowns at virtually no cost due to their low CD. Mark was also becoming more effective at using his spammable CC to deny setups. Remember, the common issue with peeling is that you need to save DRs for your own win conditions. One simple workaround was to simply use polymorph on the kill target in between setups. This would allow him to peel for his partners when they were under pressure, while keeping a target locked down enough for stun DRs to reset, bringing his team closer to their win condition. And once again, no matter what you are playing, it's okay to use your CC DRs outside of your setup to peel as an emergency, especially if you can land triple CC that shuts down enemy kills. Our priest was also beginning to become more aware of the avoidance tools he had after our coaches encouraged him to use Greater Fade and Holy Ward more often. In earlier games, he was getting CC'd for free, which caused him to quickly fall behind on defensive cooldowns since he was essentially gifting cross CC to the enemy team. Virtually every healer in the game has some sort of avoidance tool to deny cross CC. Shamans have grounding, resto druids have shape-shifting, and even monkport or fleshcraft can be used to avoid CC. He was starting to avoid CC by first increasing his awareness, which started with cleaning up his UI. And with a cleaner interface, he could pay more attention to the things that actually mattered, like important enemy cooldowns. He was also becoming better at recognizing when his team's goes were over, and he was starting to run to pillars in between setups to avoid CC without needing to use Greater Fade. He was also becoming more proficient at using Divine Ascension, something that was missing entirely from earlier games. But now, he was pressing Fly more often against melee cleaves, allowing him to avoid damage while also burning time for his team's DRs to reset. All three of our players were starting to see enormous gains in their gameplay after a rocky ending to Week 1. They started Week 2 with an MMR right below 2100, focusing on fixing the key defensive mistakes we outlined earlier. And by implementing the lessons from their coaching sessions, our RMP was able to reach new heights, achieving an MMR and current rating over 2300. With only 100 points to go, our team was feeling confident in reaching Gladiator. But we had only covered 2 out of the 5 pillars of WoW PvP. Offense was starting to see mastery, and defense was beginning to see progress. The remaining pillars would be much harder to develop, and the next few weeks would truly push our team to their limits. Whoa! Things are looking pretty good for our team, right? Let us know in the comments what you think of their progress so far. And while you're at it, if you want to see the full coaching sessions from this video, be sure to check out skillcap.com/wow, where you can find the uncut sessions with our team. Be a part of WoW PvP history for as low as $4.99 a month with a money-back guarantee. As always though, thanks for watching. See you soon.